Hi, I decided to make this video because I couldn't find instructions on how to add a shadow to an HDR background using cycles. The tutorials that I found assumed a transparent sky in the render, and then the background was added in compositing. However, though, I wanted shadows from the HDR sky illumination. So let me show you an example of what I want to achieve. This is a car on a rooftop, and this car is lit up from the HDR skies, plus some additional lights. The nice thing about this technique is that it doesn't require any mask to be drawn, so it can be used in an animation. I'm hoping, however, that somebody watching this will show an easier way to achieve the same effect. So let me show you how I arrange my layers here in the Blender file. So layer 1 and 2 are my objects. Objects in layer 1 and 2, and some additional lights. And I have on layer 10 is just the lights, and it's going to have the HDR in the background. And then layer 11 has a ground plane that's going to have a shadow cast onto it, and it also has the lights, some additional lights. Okay, so let's look at the nodes, the compositing node tree, and see how I created this. So it has 5 render scenes to create this effect. So let's start at the top. This is a background. So the background is just on layer 10. The background just consists of just the HDR. Okay? The next layer is the ground. This is a ground that does not have a shadow. Just call it ground. And it consists of layer 11, and it's excluded items on layers 1 and 2. That way there's no shadows cast. And on the next one, I have the ground and the shadow. So I call it my shadow scene, and that has layer 2, which is the ground, and there's no exclusion, so it casts a shadow. Okay? So what I do is I do a color subtract. I subtract the shadow layer, this shadow layer, from the scene that does not have shadows. So what I end up with is a negative of the shadow. Okay, so we don't want the negative. So I do a color invert. The color invert gives me a white area with the shadow. Now I have different colored lights than the HDR sky, so my shadow isn't purely black and white. My shadow is comprised of the different colors from my lights. And so, in case you want to play with the color of the shadow, I also added hue saturation. So here I've played with hue saturation to get rid of some of that color, just for the effect that I want to have. Alright, so now I have a white area with the shadow on it, and if I multiply the background with this, since white is 1, everything multiplied by 1 is going to be the background. If I do a multiply, then I have the shadow on top of the background. Now you can play with the multiplying factor to make the shadow brighter or darker, depending on what you want to have. Okay, so that gives me shadow on the background. So now let's get the car back in there. So I have one render layer that has the objects and the background. I just call that my object scene. And then I have a scene where I've masked out the objects. So this consists of the two object layers, two object layers that have been masked out, and I've excluded the background, or the ground. I've excluded the ground plane that catches the shadows. And on my object layer, I include the objects, but I also exclude the ground. So what I want to do is use this mask that's been generated from the mask layers. And I want to create an alpha map from that. So this black, the color of this is 0, absolute 0, and I use a less than node. And I use a very small number less than. So by using this, I'm able to create a mask where the mask from the car, which is 0, is less than this very small number, 0.00001. So that is less than, 0 is less than that small number, so I get 1. The result of this node is 1. And anything else is 0. So I use this mask as my alpha input. So I take the object scene, I separate out all the colors, including alpha, but when I recombine them, instead of using this alpha, I use the alpha from this mask. And the result is the car floating in a background of transparent background. So now all I need to do is add this car to my background plus shadow. So I use an alpha over node, and that just adds the car back in. And voila, we have the final result, which looks better when you use better resolution. So we have the car that is sitting on the HDR with a shadow. Hope you like it. Thanks. Bye.